I am safe with you. So when I fight on my knees with my head lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you, and every fear I lay at your feet. I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. And if you are for me, who can be against me? Yeah. For Jesus, there's nothing impossible for you. When all I see are the exits, you see the beauty. Thank you, God. When all I see is the cross, God, you see the exit. So when I fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. And every fear I lay at your feet. I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadow. You win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. In Almighty fortress, you go before. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadow. You win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. In Almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows. You win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of So when I fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Every fear I lay at your feet. I'll see through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Belongs to you. Who breaks the power of sin and darkness? Whose love is mighty and so much stronger? The King of glory, the King above all kings. Who shakes the whole earth with holy thunder and leaves us breathless in awe and wonder. The King of glory, the King above all kings. This is amazing grace. This is amazing love. Who makes the orphan a son and daughter? The King of Glory, the King of Glory, who rules the nations with truth and justice, shines like the sun in all of its brilliance. The King of Glory, the King above all kings. Yeah, this is amazing grace. This is unfailing love. That you would take my place, that you would bear my cross. You laid down your life, that I would be set free. Lord Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy is the King who conquered the grave. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Worthy, worthy, worthy. Oh, this is amazing grace. This is unfailing love. That you would take my place. That you would bear my cross. You laid down your life, that I would be set free. Oh, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. All that you've done for Good morning, Johnson County. I'm Tiffany Carlen with Nona Reed, although she'll be here shortly, here on JoCo Vibes. Thank you guys for joining us on this beautiful Wellness Wednesday. Just a reminder for all of you, it is May and it is Mental Health Awareness Month, although this should be something that we are talking about every day of the year because we are in the midst of such a mental health crisis. And so the other hot topic I think that goes along with that mental health right now is job search. And that's something that I've been paying attention to quite a bit on LinkedIn, is reading what's going on in the industry, what people are looking for, and what does all this mean, right? Because we kind of blurred the lines between mental health, or blurred the lines between home life and work life during this during the pandemic, and there's so many things that's caused, right? You know, some people were stuck home working when they completely weren't used to it. I think that drove some people crazy, especially if you live alone. And then there's those that also went through it because now that they started working and they have their kids at home. So there's like a twofold issue, right? Like either you were your company was, you know, the company, meaning not your business, but the company that you were keeping were the people that you worked with when you went to work. And then for others, I think that they got away from the home life and they got away from the family and could concentrate and get their work done. And then you had to cross those two things over with, and you know, you were kind of left to kind of figure it out for yourself, right? Morning.
Morning.
Oh, I left the camera off because I was sitting here by myself, but um and so there's some tips. The 2022 LinkedIn top voices
weighed in on they weighed in on mental health highlights. 10 There's 10 thought leaders covering how to prioritize your mental health and well-being. Mental health has become part of the decision making process for professionals weighing their next career move, with over a quarter of Gen Zers wanting their employers to offer free mental health benefits. In light of a global pandemic, that upended the balance of work and life, and many companies are now gradually adopting new resources for bridging the emotional gap between job responsibilities and the realities of daily life. As help becomes more accessible, professionals have the opportunity to prioritize their well being, destigmatize care, and help create safe environments for colleagues who may be struggling. I think that's so important. There's right this the stigma of mental health challenges that people may be having, and not talking about it out loud, um, you know, first in their personal life, and then again in their work life,
Right.
right? So if you're not willing to talk about your mental health challenges and concerns in your home life, you certainly aren't going to be talking about it at work.
Right.
And so now, because of the pandemic, that's kind of changed. It's opened that gap has opened up into where people are more willing to talk about it, and so are the employers. So I just think that it's just a really neat thing to think about and to consider when you're looking for a job.
Mm-hmm.
Is there does that company provide any type of do they prioritize your well-being?
Right.
Are they creating a safe environment for you to work in? So today LinkedIn News is debuting their first list of top voices in mental health. 10 thought leaders driving meaningful conversations around what it means to prioritize your mental health and well-being, from understanding the impacts of burnout to strategies for coping with uncertainty. These creators are focused on making mental health resources more accessible, approachable, and informative. Check out and follow the creators that speak to your interests, and stay updated on their latest insights in your LinkedIn feed. If you're not on LinkedIn, I highly suggest joining. If you're in the business world in any way, in any realm,
Mm-hmm.
that might be something that you want to definitely dive into. I'm not going to say definitely dive into. If you're in the business world, or if you're a job seeker, or if you're an employer, LinkedIn is somewhere that you absolutely want to be. You want to be on LinkedIn. This is where people are connecting in the business world. This is where we're learning tips and tricks of all the different industries. And there's so many thought-provoking leaders in the business community that we can learn from. And so, I mean, every day is a learning opportunity. So, I absolutely love that. We're talking about companies who, they're trying to understand the impacts of burnout and creating strategies for coping the uncertainty. That goes along with how many corporations are out there that are hiring people like one of our show hosts, Tatiana Miller, to come in and train them on better life skills,
Mm-hmm.
and just help them have a better work environment in general.
Yeah.
And so, if you are looking for a corporate trainer, Tatiana Miller is for hire. So
Yes.
I'll go ahead and pub her. Let's pub her out. So here's just a few of the tips. One is from Maura Aarons Mell. She's a host of The Anxious Achiever, and she's also an author. What she talks about, she reframes mental health conversations with actionable advice for tuning into your well-being, channeling anxiety, and practicing compassion. The communications executive shows why understanding and accepting the ups and downs of mental health can make you a stronger leader, as she digs into the relationship between anxiety and success on the Anxious Achiever podcast. Totally awesome podcast that you
Mm-hmm.
definitely want to tune into. Her advice for prioritizing your mental health: you can lead with authority and impact when you feel anxious, but taking your mental health seriously and treating it like a vital piece of your career development is one of the best investments you can make. So you've got to invest. Um, Ariel Belgrave Harris, she's a women's health and fitness coach at Jim Hookie. Her advice for prioritizing your mental health is fake it till you make it does not apply to your mental health.
I was about to say, wait a minute. What?
Yeah, had to finish that statement before. Fake it till you make it does not apply to your mental health. You are a human being with feelings that matter. Find a safe space to process them. I don't know how you could fake it till you make it with your mental health.
I think some people think, oh, I'll just fake it until, my health situation gets better
Until I'm
mentally.
beyond my mental health crisis.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's scary though.
It is.
And how many people are doing it?
So, I have a feeling there's probably a lot.
Could you imagine being a teacher?
Yeah.
I mean, I really, I want to seriously think. Could you imagine being a teacher? I'm sorry, you are a teacher.
I know what you're saying, especially right now.
But I mean, if you're in a classroom, like if your job is teaching 25 students all day long, right, in and out of the classroom, in and out, and it changes up, and you're in a mental health crisis. How can you not fake it? Right. Yeah. And then I think some don't. Obviously that comes out.
Some have a mental breakdown in the class. Correct.
Mental breakdown in the classroom, or you take it out on the kids. I mean, and I'm just using them. I just went to teacher for, I'm not picking on teachers because
that happened.
I'm concerned
in my situation that I took over a class. And of course, this was, 20 years ago. The teacher was having some mental issues and had trouble controlling the class. And I will say it has been known to this day, still the craziest, wildest group of kids all together. And you can even say a couple
from
of kids
specific class.
Yes, like that specific class year all together, at both schools. They all went into BHS at that time because that's all there was. And till this day, I can see teachers that were, around, and I could just mention a couple of names and they'll be like, oh, yes. It brings back like these flashbacks. But this teacher literally had a mental breakdown in the classroom. I was told it was like watching a movie where the teacher's on the desk kind of going, stop it. And the kids are all having a paper ball fight. And the principal walks in. Now, I did not physically see that, but that's what I ended up my first year teaching in the district. That's what I walked into, that they had already sent one of their teachers to kind of a mentally, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore thing. Well, so it does happen all the time.
So to me, that's kind of one of those things, right? So this is talking about the corporate world and having these support systems. What's there in the school for teachers? If we're talking about if we're talking about teachers and talking about their mental health and not being able to fake it till you make it, because they shouldn't have to either.
And
right
now with the post-pandemic and stuff, I can't even imagine right now what some of them are dealing with.
But what can they do?
Right.
So my question is, what are school districts doing for these teachers to give them a safe place or an outlet? What's their safe word? Can they pick up a phone and use a safe word?
Right.
And
that's a good question.
I'm having a breakdown. I'm having a massive breakdown in this class. I need someone in here now. Like, are there floaters? Like, I'm asking you a serious question. I don't know. Are there like floater teachers that are extra?
No. No. Now, there wasn't when I was teaching, and from what I understand, there's still not. No. We have a teacher shortage, so how can we have floaters?
I don't know. All right, we're going to be back after the break with Chris Boedeker, who's running for county judge here in Johnson County.
Yes.
Stay with us.
Abnormal realities.
I love my mom.
Yep. She sent me a message.
My mom did?
Yeah, Wednesday night. And she invited me over tomorrow night to watch Titanic and share a bowl of popcorn. And I accepted.
You did?
Yep.
That'd be fun.
And she calls it Chaps Only Night. Every Saturday night.
Look,
Miss Dixie,
look.
how you doing? He said, it's my mom, bro. All right, it's my mom.
I want to hear the answer to the Titanic and popcorn. Go ahead, Mom. What's up?
Oh!
Hi, boys.
Hi,
I
Mom.
just wanted to ask Rocky if he wanted butter on that popcorn or not.
Oh,
I
my
would rather
God.
have the butter somewhere else, but if popcorn's the only place I can have it, I'll take it.
Jeez,
Hey,
dude.
nobody says I can't roll around in it for a little bit.
All right, Mom.
That is my
Love
girl.
you.
I love you,
Mom.
Dixie.
Abnormal realities
Bye, Mom. Love you.
Dixie.
Bye. I love you too.
with Ron and Rocky. Weekdays, 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. on JoCo Community Radio.
Holy crap.
Hey, there's something you forgot to do. It sure is hot. Are you sweating like a dog? Wait, what? Dogs don't sweat. Oh no, you forgot to get your window tinted. Whether it's the kitchen window that sits in the sun for the hottest part of the day, or you just got new wheels, call Sharp Window Tinting in Burleson. 817-615-9379, or look them up on the web, sharpwindowtint.com.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395.
Welcome back to the second half of JoCo Vibes here on JoCo Community Radio. I'm Tiffany Carlen with Nona Reed, and we've got a great guest joining us that I'm going to introduce you to in just a second. JoCo Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 365 on the TuneIn Radio Network. To listen or watch, simply go to tuneinjoco.com to choose where and how. The JoCo Community Radio app is now available for free on Android and Apple devices. Simply search your store. Check out our lineup and more on jococommunityradio.com. This episode and more brought to you by Patriot Claims, making your insurance work for you. That's right. Reach out to your local Texas sales rep, Nona Reed, at 844-TEX-HAIL. That's 844-TEX-HAIL, and get Patriot Claims in your corner before the next storm hits. Insurance doesn't want to pay, folks. They don't. You got to have someone ready to fight for you in your corner and advocate for you and make sure you get paid the full amount of the claim to cover your damage. So there we go. So welcome back.
I'm a fighter.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for sticking with us. And
Speaking of fighter here,
right? Speaking of fighting, and we don't mean in the
a
fisticuffs
physical way.
Yeah, none of that.
fisticuffs. That's an old word.
It's a good
Fisticuff.
word.
I like that
it.
word, don't
Yeah,
you?
Absolutely.
Let's have some fisticuffs. Chris Boedeker is here, and he is running for Johnson County Judge
Yes, ma'am.
here in
And
Johnson County, Texas.
Here in Johnson County, Texas. I appreciate y'all having me back on.
I'm so glad to have you.
Thank you for coming back on.
It's a runoff. It's I'm laughing because it's the oddest runoff ever, because it's like you're running against a ghost.
Yes, it's a weird situation. Runoffs are always weird because you don't know who's going to come back and vote. So turnout is huge. We want everybody to come
Right.
back, vote again. Use your voice. Don't give it up. Don't let somebody else decide who's going to be in charge for you. And I know Burleson just saw that. Y'all had a bond election and it passed, and it passed with a very low voter turnout. And whether that's good or bad, I don't comment on things that happen in other people's jurisdictions, but get out and vote. Don't let a handful of people make the decision for you.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So I've already told my daughter she has to be back before this week is up, because I don't want to do it on election day, because we got to get out and vote. So she's like, okay, I'll come in on Friday.
Yes. So lots of opportunities to vote all this week through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can go right now. I've been at the Burleson Sub Courthouse most of the week. My wife's there right now. She'll wave at you if you come in. No line, because again, pretty low
Right,
turnout.
Yeah.
Just walk in and vote. There are a couple of state races on the ballot. I think the county judge, forgive my arrogance here, but I think it's the most important race on the ballot. It has a huge impact on the lives of everybody.
Yes, it
living in
does.
Johnson County.
Yes.
Yes, it does. Talk about that. I mean, talk about talk about what that means to you when you try to explain that to people.
Sure. So the position, it's a, for lack of an eloquent term, it's a weird job. It's lots of things that the Texas Constitution has crammed into one position. And in Johnson County, about 20% of it is judicial work. I am an attorney. I work as a prosecutor for the county. So the county judge hears mental commitments and some administrative hearings, things that most people will never deal with. The rest of it is administering the county government. So county, that applies to folks that live in city limits as well. If you ever end up in the court system, the county runs the courts, the sheriff runs the jail and the sheriff's office. The county runs the road system between all the cities and up to the city limits. It's a large government operation. It's significant to everybody living around here. And really the focus of county government is beyond the court system, infrastructure and law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the things that I care the most about, is making sure that we have a professional supported law enforcement and that we have an infrastructure that can handle the growth as it comes this way.
Right.
Super important things. And excuse me. I think more important to explain to everybody too is that this seat is opening up because the current county judge, Roger Harmon, is retiring.
Yes. So
he is stepping away.
Yes.
Okay.
So Roger Harmon has been on the bench for 28 years and has done a great job of creating a fiscally conservative foundation for whoever takes this position next. He announced his retirement about a year ago and had a newspaper article and all of that. And we were surprised right at the last minute, a candidate kind of jumped in and shares his last name. There's a candidate, John Harmon, that's on the ballot. And throughout the campaign, we've been campaigning about 9 months, meeting people. I've submitted myself to this program twice. It's probably not fair, but it feels a little bit like you're getting grilled sometimes. Not you guys are nice.
Oh, thank you.
Some of the events are a little higher temperature. But I've been in events about 10 times over the last 9 months where I'll take any question that comes up, any audience question. I'm happy to talk about my vision for Johnson County. And I think we're in a very exciting time. I think Johnson County has wonderful days ahead of us.
Right.
During that time, I have not met Mr. Harmon, John Harmon, that's running for office. He's skipped out on all of our debates. He has skipped out on an opportunity to tell us what he's running for.
Right.
And in fact, I heard through the grapevine, he's telling people he's got name recognition, so he's got this in the bag.
Yeah.
And when confronted,
that's very
it's
scary.
not your name. Yeah. He doesn't seem to bother him.
Because we reached out to him also during the preliminary, and after I guess about a month, I finally got a response. And then there was this long thing about 360 and 67, which all I asked was, do you want to come on and let's talk about the campaign? And not once did he say anything about, oh yeah, let me come on. But it was this thing that didn't even make sense, which scared me altogether. And then to know he won with 5,000 votes. Yeah, he was doing it by name recognition. Everybody thought they were voting for Judge Harmon, who they didn't realize had retired. It is not the same Judge Harmon. Guys, it's very important. If you go and look, Chris has shown up to several different forums and has been sitting there on stage alone. There's a lot of pictures to prove that. This gentleman, John Harmon, has not come to anything. Is that who you want representing us as county judge? You've got to, again, get yourself knowledged before you go and vote, and then go vote.
I like that phrase. Get yourself knowledged. Because
School yourself.
School yourself,
right?
Yes,
I mean,
and it is.
on.
I'm a lifelong Johnson County citizen, and it kind of scares me that I don't know what this
Very
guy wants to
scary.
do with the office. It's an important office, and it matters.
So that's something actually I was discussing with someone yesterday. If John Harmon is not willing to show up to a forum, if he's not willing to show up and talk to the people, will he show up for the job?
And that's so I can't speculate what he's going to do. Like I said, I haven't met him, but I do know a lot of people that know what the county judge does. They watch the commissioner's courts meeting online and they think, oh, well, this guy works 4 hours every other week. I could do that. It's a 24/7 job. You are representing the county in Austin for legislative sessions. You're trying to attract businesses and developments here. We need somebody that can be a professional representative for the county. I've got experience in the law. I've also served on Cleveland City Council for the last 3 years as the mayor pro tem. I've got a little bit of experience with knowing how government works and how government can get out of the way of business.
Right.
And that's what we really want to do is build on that conservative foundation we've got in the commissioner's court right now, but really embrace the change that's coming this direction. There's growth coming, whether we want it or not. And if we prepare, if we work with development, if we get out of the way of business and we do an excellent job of the things that the county needs to do, I think we can have a better version of Johnson County.
Right.
Well, this is actually something from Keene that Keene put out, and they titled it the One-Sided Forum. Monday's candidate forum, co-sponsored by the Keene Chamber of Commerce and Johnson County Republican Women, played out a decidedly one-sided affair with several in the audience of about 50 chiming in on the notable no-show by one candidate. Organizers invited candidates Christopher Boedeker and John Harmon, but only Boedeker attended. It's Boedeker, right?
It is Boedeker.
Okay,
yes.
I was like,
it's spelled Boedeker.
I know, but I started to second guess myself because I know that when I first met you, I said Boedeker, and then you know when you say it so much, and you're like, wait a minute, am I saying that right? I'm saying it right. Thank God. Okay, so both are competing in the May 24th runoff election, neither having received 51% of the vote in the March Republican primary, at that time a 4-man race. Both hope to replace outgoing Johnson County Judge Roger Harmon. I can't say it enough. Roger Harmon is retiring. Judge Roger Harmon is retiring. He is not rerunning. His name is not on this ballot. That Harmon is John Harmon, who nobody knows because he doesn't show up to anything. I feel like that's literally, it has to be a broken record right now to get that out to people. And we talked before we went on air. What is that looking like at the polls when you're meeting people who are walking up?
Sure.
And talk about, tell me about the experience you were just telling me about.
Okay. So I've been out at the Burleson Sub Courthouse the last 2 days, most of the day, enjoying the nice Texas sunshine and a little bit of warmth. And if I look sunburned today, that's why.
I thought you were just glowing.
Right.
I was like, it looks like you have a glow.
So overall, mostly good responses. We've gotten lots of thumbs up and smiles and people stopping by to talk to us. I've also gotten 5 or 10 people that come up and say, well, I'm going in to vote for Roger Harmon. I like him and he's doing a good job. And that's great. Roger Harmon's a great man. He's done a good job.
That's not Roger Harmon.
But he's not running for office. And I had a gentleman, he asked, what's the difference between you and Roger Harmon? I said, well, I'm running for office and he's retiring. That's a big difference.
And they're like, what?
He's
on the ballot.
Is it slightly
that's
difficult?
John Harmon that's
Yes.
on the ballot.
Is it slightly difficult to not be a little smart assy and like,
I wish Roger Harmon would like speak up and go, guys, I'm retiring. Hello.
but we can't. I mean, I think that's just where the power of social media and advertisement and you putting your face out there.
Sure.
And I'm hoping that the fact that you have been this one-sided race and this one face that's been showing up everywhere is enough to really settle into people to say, hey, it's not me. You know, how many of those people who, you know, saw that there's a runoff between you and John Harmon, who voted for who they thought was Roger Harmon,
Right.
went, wait a minute, and picked up the phone and called Roger and said, hey, I can't believe you're in a runoff. This is so close. I mean, I wonder how many people have called him and actually said, have you talked to Roger Harmon?
Roger. Yes.
Judge Roger Harmon.
I have spent a lot more time talking to Judge Harmon than I have John Harmon, whom I've never met. Yes, I have talked to him several times. He's in an awkward position because as a judge, he can't comment on races one way or another. And so he's got to stay out of it. And I respect his ethics for that. He's on his way out. He could probably get away with doing something that pushes the line, but he's not going to do that. And I'm not going to push him to do that. His son did write a really nice letter that we ran in the Cleveland Times Review, just clarifying that his dad's retiring, that John Harmon is riding on his dad's legacy, and that Greg Harmon, at least in his family, are supporting me and voting for me. And they think that I'm the guy to continue the work that Roger Harmon has done. So, yeah, that meant a lot to me. And I think that helps. I think everybody was surprised, not that there was a runoff when you have a 4-person race, but by who was in it and by the number of votes that other candidate received.
I know. I was really shocked.
Do you know what the voter turnout is looking like so far for early voting? I mean, we're 3 days in on early voting.
Yes. We pulled the numbers and I don't have it off the top of my head. Higher than I thought. So the
That's good.
first round of voting or election day back in March, we had about 15,000 total votes in Johnson County. So fairly low turnout.
Of course.
And that included a contested governor's race that was pretty heated and some other big statewide races that were ultimately resolved at that time. So so there's no governor's race this time around. There is an attorney general race, which is at the top of the ballot. So I thought we may not see more than 5,000 votes come back, drop by 2/3. I think we're on pace to do better than that. So I am happy that people are coming out.
Good.
And we have had a lot of excitement.
Hopefully they're coming out with the knowledge and knowing who they're going to vote for and who their candidates really are.
We're trying to get the word out.
Yeah.
It's hard this day and age. And I think governments and campaigns and businesses all have the same problem. How do you reach your customers? How do you reach your constituents where they are? And so, yes, I spend a lot more time on Facebook than I want to because that's where people are.
I know.
And we're doing a direct mailer that we dropped last week and I think should start arriving in people's mailboxes today or tomorrow. We finally broke down and did a direct text message based on Texas GOP phone numbers. And I don't know. I hate receiving those things. So if you got my text message, I'm sorry. I hope you learned from it. Don't hold it against me too much. We're just trying to get the word out about
I think it's really important, especially in the situation that you are in, that we do for those who are still not aware, that we do what we can to help them understand.
Sure.
This is a gentleman who's not showing up to things. He's been invited to many times to sit and talk, do a forum, whatever, and he's choosing not to. He's running off a name, and he knows he's getting those votes because of a name. He's not qualified for this job, and I'm sorry. I mean, you got my vote.
I appreciate that.
And it just angers me to know that some people are going in there with not doing their research and they're not and getting some information about their candidates before they walk into the room.
I know
and it's not that hard, really.
Right.
It's not. I mean, I used to be one of those people too. I have since turned, and I do a lot more studying.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, and I know we see some people walking in carrying their sample ballots that they've printed out, and fantastic. If you have done enough research to print out a sample ballot and at least Google the names on the ballot, then you're an informed voter. You are going in, and whether I agree with your decision or not, you make your decision and use your voice.
Right.
Just make sure you know who's on the ballot. I'll say, the first leg of the campaign leading up to the primary, I decided early on, I wasn't going to mention any other candidate by name at any point. I wasn't going to compare myself to any other candidates because the campaign was about talking about my vision for the county and talking about my experience in education. And I thought that's where it needed to be. And now that we're here and this other gentleman's on the ballot, and I think people are mostly voting for him out of confusion or out of mistake, I feel pulled into this position where I have to talk about him. And I hate doing it. Again, I don't know who he is. He may be a wonderful man, but I don't know him. And it worries me as a citizen of the county if he gets elected based on a mistaken name recognition.
I'm going to tell you that I'm terrified, actually. I am really terrified of having here's the thing. If he doesn't show up for the job, are you running just so you can see if you can win off of a name and then you don't show up? Then what happens? If he doesn't show up, what happens?
Right.
Is there another election? Do they default? Do you know what that next step is? Should he just not show up?
There may not be one. In Texas, the Texas Constitution is very protective of elected officials. So just not doing your job usually isn't really enough to get you removed by a district court. And if he walked into commissioner's court every 2 weeks and voted on some issues, he'd have the job for 4 years and he'd draw a full-time paycheck.
Well, I'm more even just thinking, what if he doesn't even show up?
If he never walked in, I don't know. I don't know that they could remove him. We don't have recall elections here. We don't have court oversight the way that some other places do, because the idea is voters get to decide, and
Right.
the people you pick, you make your bed and then you lie in it. You're stuck with them for a while.
Yeah, I think that that's the most important thing. Again, it comes down to educating the voters. I'm incredibly disappointed in this gentleman that he refuses to talk to anybody. I've been connected with him on LinkedIn for many years, actually. I think for probably 6 or 7 years, but rarely see anything from him. I know that he's a realtor. He's in the real estate industry.
Okay.
And the only thing that I see that he has on his header and that he's pushed for is bringing 360 all the way through Johnson County, which, to enlighten anybody who's curious or even knew that this was a thing, it's already been approved. It's been approved to come through for years ago. Yeah, it's
been
just
in the books for years.
right. It's just not there yet.
And my understanding is the plan is currently to let developers pay for it as development builds this way, and it should be within the next few years.
Which I think that's very smart. That's a very smart decision to make.
Because the other alternative is, if that's really all you want to do, you can come in and you can do bonds and borrow money and spend tax dollars to do it. But my goodness, that's a terrible way to administer that project.
Well, I think that's to hear that smart decision being made of not being in the mindset of build it and they will come.
Right.
Let's build it as they come is way more fiscally responsible. I don't really understand his giant push forward, except for maybe it has something to do with real estate. It's real estate motivated for him, which means it's money motivated, which is greed. So again, if you're just joining us on the radio, Chris Boedeker is in the studio with us, and he is running for county judge against a ghost. John Harmon, not the Honorable Judge Roger Harmon, who is retiring. He is stepping away. So this is an open seat that's being run for between Chris and a ghost. And that ghost being John C. Harmon, who is not related to Roger Harmon in any way. They are not the same person. They are not related. And he's a realtor.
Yes.
Chris is a lawyer. You've been a prosecutor for Johnson County for how long?
So sure. Yeah. Let me talk a little bit
Please
about myself.
Please talk a lot about yourself.
Sure.
That's what we want you. That's what we want you to do. Let's put the ghost
away.
Yes.
Away and
let's exercise him and talk about what's important. And I think the future of Johnson County is important. We're at a crossroads here, and I think it's a good thing. I'm excited about the future of Johnson County. I'm raising my family here. I've got 2 little boys, and I look forward to raising them in a Johnson County that is hopefully better, but similar to the Johnson County I grew up in. We're going to experience growth. It's rapidly coming this direction, and that means we have to plan for it. So my experience, my background, I am a prosecutor. I'm an attorney. I've been an attorney for about 11 years, 8 years of that with the county as a prosecutor. I do a little bit of criminal prosecution, very little. Most of what I do is more on the civil side. So I've represented the county in some lawsuits. I have anytime an elected official has questions about how they're allowed to proceed or about policy issues, a lot of that comes to my desk. And I've actually written a couple of the ordinances or resolutions that the county has passed to create frameworks for how stuff is going to work. So I'm familiar with how it works. I'm not in a policy position, so those are not decisions that I've gotten to make. However, I'm also on Cleveland City Council, and that is a job that I am in a policy position. And so the city council oversees the city manager and city staff. We set the budget. We set a very conservative budget every year. We've cut our tax rate 3 years in a row, all 3 years that I've voted on a tax rate, about 14% over the last 3 years. We're really proud of our tax rate in the last budget because we were able to cut the tax rate by 10%. And 10% is a magic number because your homestead value can only go up by 10% each year. So for people that live in Cleveland, the city portion of their taxes should have been flat last year. And I think that's an accomplishment in this market where housing prices are shooting through the roof. As we grow, I want to focus on infrastructure building and on law enforcement. And those are the same things we focused on in the city of Cleveland. In fact, the Cleveland Police Officers Association has endorsed me for the work that I've done for them while I'm on council. And the Johnson County Sheriff's Officers Association has also endorsed me. And I know a lot of those guys, and I've worked with them. And we share a vision for how you maintain the feel of a community. So a community can feel like a small town even as it grows if your infrastructure isn't overwhelmed by traffic. And when I say infrastructure for the county, that mostly means roads. And if you're law enforcement, if you're keeping up with the demands so that crimes are prosecuted, criminals are caught, and people feel safe. You live here in Johnson County because you want to feel safe. And yeah, we all love seeing cows when we drive on the highway, and maybe that's going to change. Maybe you have to drive a little farther to see the cows, but we should still feel safe here. We still shouldn't sit in an hour of traffic driving from one end of the county to the other. And I think those are the things that county government can address and in fact has to address. And as we do, we have to do an excellent job of that. Nobody else, the private industry, private sector can't step up and do law enforcement for us. They can't step up and do the roads for us, except like with the 360 project, we can work with developers to build the new roadways. Most people are aware governments don't really build new roads unless you had the interstate highway project under Eisenhower. Sure, the government built a lot of roads, but since then, not so many. Mostly governments widen roads and maintain roads. New roads get built by development as it develops. They dedicate the right of way, they build a road, and we want them built to the specification that we can take care of it, that we can expand on it in the future if we need to, and that it addresses not 5 years of needs, but 50 years of needs. And those are the kind of things that require some experience in this area, and they require strategic planning on a multi-decade timeline. What I say over and over again, what I go back to over and over again is I grew up here, and this is my hometown, and now my kids are 3 and 4, and I care what this county looks like, not next year, although I do care. I care more about what it looks like when my kids are 30 and 40 years old, because I want them to do the same thing I did and go off and get an education or start a career and then come back here to raise a family. Because I firmly believe that the American dream is alive and well in Johnson County, and that this is one of the best places in the world to raise a family.
This is, as a growing community, I definitely feel that each city and each town within Johnson County is working to have a work, life, live community, a place
Absolutely.
where we can stay and start our businesses, and have a place for our kids in the future to also do the same thing.
Absolutely.
And a lot of our educational programs now are doing that. I mean, I don't think a lot of people know that there's a trade school in Cleburne.
Yes.
And so, and I know the mayor of Burleson is looking to open one here, and is most likely working with that trade school to bring some of those ideas. These are important things to keep these people. One of the things I love is that you were raised here, and you came back, and you've been, you went to law school, you got your license, your degree, and you passed the bar, and you came back home to Johnson County. And I think that speaks volumes of someone who wants to serve our county. And so you do have my vote. I don't vote for ghosts anyway. So, and my husband and I are getting out and early voting for you today. So
Wonderful.
we're super excited for you. Anybody has we've got 30 seconds, last minute questions for you. It's the best way for them to reach you.
Okay. The best way to reach me, I've got a Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Chris4CountyJudge. There is a website, same website. My email address is christopher.boedeker@gmail.com. It's a mouthful and kind of hard to spell, but I'm reachable. Find me on any of those venues. I'll give you my cell phone number and let's talk.
Chris for County Judge, thanks for joining us again. Good luck at the polls. We'll see you out there, and we'll see you guys back here tomorrow morning. Have an amazing day. God bless.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, JoCo Community Radio.
Here's important new information from the Diabetes Solution Center for you, a family member, or a loved one suffering with diabetes. If you have lost your provider, or if you need a provider for diabetic supplies, you may qualify to receive your diabetic testing supplies now with little or no out-of-pocket cost, regardless of your age. All you need is Medicare or private insurance to be potentially eligible. Call the Diabetes Solution